Hey, welcome to Mike's Trains, and thanks for joining me for the next video in the series. If you watched the last video, we installed all of these rock castings in here, and then I went back afterwards. I said at the end of the video that I was going to pick and poke at these to get off the little bits of the Sculptamold that was put in here to kind of get the final look of it. Well, this is the final look, and I actually went back and I painted the tops of all of this brown, and that's the part that's going to stay as ground or dirt and whatever. And this is the end result of all of that. So let me see if I can get you. There we go. All right, so this is the end of what it all looks like. And I think it came out pretty good. You can see the areas like right over here that I carved down. And I left some spots high. And when you look at it, the tops of the rocks actually come in and go out like they should. So there you go. So that's all done. So now that just needs to get painted as rock, and I'm gonna wait to do that for probably not till next video. I'm thinking what I want to take care of right now is this next section of wall over here. We want to cover this. Now this section right here is all going to be a concrete wall, a reinforced retaining wall, and that's going to run from the rocks right over here all the way down to this other end, all the way down to that end. So in order to get that started, we're going to mate it up with this rock wall here. So in order to do that, I need styrene. So I went out and I bought some styrene, and I had to make a template to take this and make a template of this contour right here. And as I'm looking at this, when I started all of that, I wasn't sure how I was going to make that template. I didn't really want to spend a lot of time down here looking at it and trying to fit things in there to get it working. So what I came up with, I found I had this in my garage. This right here is I'm not sure what the technical name is. Technical name of it is, but I call it a copycat. And what it does, it's all full of pins, and it allows you to get the contours of things. So let me show you how that works. So we'll come back here to the wall, and all you do is I took this and I laid it down on here, and you just push it into the wall like this. Now I have a template for the wall. You can see what this did. There we go. And it gives me a negative and a positive side of the contour of the wall. And then I traced that onto a piece of cardboard. And then I took the cardboard, which I have here, and this now fits right in my space here, and it fits right up to the wall, and it fits in there quite nicely. And then it wasn't exact, okay? It was very close, but it wasn't exact. So I took the original one, and I just trimmed it here and there until I got it to fit tight in there. And this now is the template for what I need to cut the styrene at. So then I just take this, I measured up from the bottom to the top of the wall, and I cut a strip of styrene, and I just put this down at one end, and I traced out the edge of the cardboard onto the styrene and cut that out. So why don't we go take a look upstairs and take a look at the retaining wall and how that's going to get built. Okay, so now here we are up on my desk, and this is what I've built so far of the wall. As you can see, I have the section, and this is the part here that I traced out from the rock face from that little template I showed you downstairs. And then the rest of it is going to look like this. Now you can kind of see, looking in on the edges here, that it's thin at the top and I made it thicker at the bottom, which I really kind of like. It gives a little bit of depth to the whole wall, and it's not just one strip of plastic down there. So this is what we end up with. And I still have, as you can see, a whole section of this still to do. I've got all of this rest of this. Now this is going to reach, this is I think about 3 feet worth of wall, and it's going to do. It's a little short to fit, it just short of reaching the end of the foam. It follows the whole long part, the high part, right to the end, but the parts where the wall comes, where the foam steps down, it doesn't quite cover that, so I may have to make some shorter sections to go on to that. Now let me go into how this was made. Let's get started. So what I did was, I have styrene. I bought some sheets of styrene, and this is the styrene that I got. Okay, it comes in sheets. These are, I don't even know what the dimensions are. It's 8 inches wide and it's 60 thousandths thick, which I kind of like that thickness. I don't know what the length of it is, but I'm pretty sure this is about 18 inches. But that's what I'm using for this. So like I said, I measured out the height of the foam and I cut this off at that height. Now this is 2 pieces put together, and the seam is right here between the 2. Let's see, it's kind of hard to see because it's white, but this is the seam right here between the 2. No, this one. This is the seam. And it looks like the rest of these are all pencil lines. I went through and I made a spacing of 1.5 inches between, and I got that 1.5 inches. I have a scale ruler here, and I went onto the scale ruler, and 1.5 inches is about, well, a little under 20 feet going by this. So I figured that was about right to have these ribs. I wanted them between 15 and 20 feet, and that's about where we're at. So what I did was I measured down from the end, and I came up with, I put a tick mark at every spot at 1.5 inches, and then I took a square like this, and I just drew a line straight up. So now I know I have a straight line at each of these marks, and I arranged it so that the seam is actually one of the lines. Alright, so now we don't have to worry about hiding the seam, because the seam will pretty much end up being underneath one of these ribs and it'll never be seen. Now on the back side, what I have is I have a very thin piece of styrene here as a splint to hold that together, and that's all glued down fairly well, so we don't have to worry about this coming apart. So now we have, I've told you how I've gotten all of these lines. So now to make this raised part here, I bought some strip styrene, and I'm not sure what it's 30 thousandths I believe thick, but it's very thin. Okay, very thin and narrow. These come in strips, I think they're about 1 foot long. Yeah, I bought a pack of them. It was, I don't know, $1 or so. And what I did was I cut a whole bunch of them. And I have these ones here, which are 1/2 inch. Okay. Then I have this one that's 1 inch. And then I have this one here that goes the full length of the whole thing. Alright. And Let's see if we can get in here closer. So there's all three pieces, and let's start do a couple of these ribs, and I'll show you how they go. So what I have the three sizes of strips that I have right there, and I'm going to start with this rib right here. So let's get those going. Okay, so I'm going to set this one in, and I'm going to go just on top of the line. I'm not going to the edge of it, I'm going just over it. Now this one isn't the seam, so it's not as important with the line relation as the rest of them are. But I'm just going to go just a touch over it. I want to cover the line. I'm going to take some of this, put that in there. And I'm going to go around all the sides. Now this next one is the seam. So that one I definitely want to go just over the line so that it'll reinforce the weld on the seam, and that'll work as an enforcement for the seam. Okay, so that's 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so that's 5. Now we're going to take this next longer one, and we're going to start that up on here. Okay, so now these pieces are in place. Now I'm going to take another set of little bit of glue and go underneath. I'm just going to push this down. Okay, so now this is 5 sections with 2 pieces. I got the shortest one on the bottom, the next longest on the top, and we're going to put the third one on. And the only reason I do it like this is to reinforce and give some little bit of strength to this curve right here, this little curve in here. It helps the top piece form that curve a lot easier, where if you did it in the reverse, you put the long one on the bottom and the shorter one on top, the top piece would have a harder time keeping that curved form in there. So let's get the next one, the next layer on. Alright, so now we have 5 more ribs in here, and these are in. These just need to set up for a couple minutes, and you can see now what we have. If you're looking into these, you can kind of see now we have a gap down the sides right here. Yeah. So you can see the small gap from the bending over of the styrene, and each one of these has that. So when this dries, I'm going to go ahead and finish the rest of these, and then we'll come back and we'll address these little gaps down the sides. Okay, so I went and finished all of the ribs all the way down this, so now they're all complete. Now what we want to take care of are the small gaps. Let's see if you can, right there, those small gaps that are in here. So we want to fill all of these right here. So what I have is I found this at Hobby Lobby. It's just it seems to work okay. I used it on the other parts. It's just contour putty for plastic, and I'm just going to take a little bit of it. I'm going to run a bead down each one of these, but I don't want to get too far ahead of myself because it does dry kind of quick. So now I'm going to take my knife and just run it right down like that, and that seems to do the trick, just like that. And then we do the same thing on this side. Alright, so here we go. These are all done now, as far as I can go with this at the moment. So you can see these are pretty much all filled up. You can kind of see, and they all look pretty good. We have the same contour that we're running throughout the rest of this, all the way down through the parts that I did earlier. Now you can see that these earlier parts, these are very much cleaned up as to what this end looks like. So now it's just a matter of, as this dries, I'll take my flat knife here, I'll take my flat knife, and we'll start cleaning up the extra putty that's on here and scraping these down, and then it'll be a little bit of sanding down the sides, get this all cleaned up, and then we'll come back and paint the whole thing. I'm going to prime it and then paint it. So I think that's it for this video. I hope you got the idea of how to do this. I think it looks really good. I'm really happy with it. There's a sort of a down view of how that whole thing looks. You know, obviously these little bits of stuff here, these will all go away here. This is the finished end. So that end there, that's how it's all going to look. And I think it's going to look really good, and I'm very happy with it. So all that being said, I think this is going to be the end of this video. I think I've taken enough of your time for a day. Thanks for watching, and until next time, happy modeling.